There were operations in place today throughout Minneapolis and in the area where this man was shot by both ICE and Border Patrol. We have yet to get all of the details, but there are summaries being stated as facts by the administration at this point. In fact, everyone, let's put up what the president has posted on Truth Social. I'm going to read it to you in its entirety. This is the gunman's gun loaded with 2 additional full magazines and ready to go. What is that all about? Where are the local police? Why weren't they allowed to protect ICE officers? The mayor and the governor called them off. It is stated that many of these police were not allowed to do their job, that ICE had to protect themselves. Not an easy thing to do. Why does Ilhan Omar have $34 million in her account? And where are the tens of billions of dollars that have been stolen from the once great state of Minnesota? We're there because of massive monetary fraud with billions of dollars missing and illegal criminals that were allowed to infiltrate the state through the Democrats' open border policy. We want the money back, and we want it back now. Those fraudsters who stole the money are going to jail where they belong. This is no different than a really big bank robbery. Much of what you're witnessing is a cover-up for this theft and fraud. The mayor and the governor are inciting insurrection. This is the point I'm going to have you both respond to, Brendan and Radley. The mayor and the governor are inciting insurrection with their pompous, dangerous, and arrogant rhetoric. Instead, the sanctimonious political fools should be looking for the billions of dollars that have been stolen from the people of Minnesota and the United States of America. Let our ICE patriots do their job. 12,000 illegal alien criminals, many of them violent, have been arrested and taken out of Minnesota. If they were still there, you would see something far worse than you are witnessing today. And another post on Truth Social. This was just handed to me. It's much shorter. I don't know if we have the graphic to cover it, but he also adds, among other things, this is a cover-up for the billions of dollars that have been stolen from the once great state, but soon to be great again, of Minnesota, President Donald J. Trump. There we go. Thank you so much, Graphics, for putting that up there, and Josh, our director. So, Brendan, you first. The point that I want to get to, given your legal expertise, the mayor and the governor are inciting insurrection. How much do you think this is a predicate, this entire day, for the possibility of the president to invoke the Insurrection Act at some point in the future?
Well, that's certainly what commentators have feared for months, since Minnesota has been, essentially occupied by ICE and CBP forces. To be clear, this is not a predicate, not a lawful predicate for using the Insurrection Act, which only can be used in instances of active rebellion and foreign invasion, which this, based on the evidence, pretty clearly is not. Let me just add just 1 or 2 more legal ideas here. So I think it's important for viewers to understand that simply being a federal officer does not make you immune from state or local prosecution for murder or manslaughter here. Now, the federal government will probably argue, if in fact these ICE officers are investigated or indicted, that they are categorically immune from state laws because they are operating reasonably within the performance of their lawful duties. It's not clear to me that they are acting within the performance of their lawful duties, and it's certainly not clear that they are acting reasonably. So, in a world where the Department of Justice and the FBI seems not only indifferent to investigations into ICE officers and CBP officers, but actively hostile to them, I think it's going to really fall to local law enforcement and local prosecutors to try to bring justice and truth here.
But Brendan, can whatever they do in terms of an investigation, which can be challenging given the fact that at least in Renee Good's situation, the federal government has refused to share evidence that they have in that particular case with state and local authorities. Can a state and local investigation or charges, can that supersede the federal government saying they're protected because of what we investigated and we found to be within the law?
Yeah. So 2 things here. Ordinarily, state and local prosecutors and investigators would coordinate almost without question in a matter like this. As you pointed out in the Renee Good case, the U.S. Attorney's Office and the FBI refused to cooperate with local law enforcement, essentially unprecedented. And several people in the FBI and the U.S. Attorney's Office reportedly resigned when they were pressured to investigate not the officer that shot Renee Good, but Renee Good herself and her partner. There's nothing preventing state and local law enforcement from conducting their own investigation, and they have the resources to do so. They can interview the people that we're seeing on the TV right now, people that have witnessed this shooting. They can collect video evidence. They can, set up a geofence and try to collect CCTV footage and things like that. So absolutely, state and local law enforcement can proceed here. And while the federal government may argue that they are categorically preempted, that is not obviously the case.
Okay, but Brendan, I'm just getting something handed to me, and the statement is from the Department of Homeland Security that it will investigate the fatal shooting of a 37-year-old protester in Minneapolis by its officers rather than the FBI. Two sources are telling that to MS Now. So they're going to be investigating that which they've already issued a summary about that happened. Earlier, we got from DHS the statement that an individual approached U.S. Border Patrol officers with a 9mm semi-automatic handgun. The armed suspect violently resisted. Fearing for his life and the lives and safeties of fellow officers, an agent fired defensive shots. So it would seem that it's a closed book. I mean, have they already figured out what happened from their perspective?
Yeah, it certainly sounds like they're trying to investigate something where they've already reached their own conclusion. It's not surprising that DHS would announce that it's taking the lead here, given that the local FBI office and the local U.S. Attorney's Office have already lost so many career line level staff. It suggests that there's a real crisis in these offices and, a real breakdown in trust between the local FBI and U.S. Attorney's Office and leadership in Washington. So, it makes sense at some level then that DHS would take over. But as you said, it seems like DHS has already prejudged the outcome at the federal level. And this bluntly is not the kind of thing that DHS is typically responsible for leading. This is something that the FBI would be responsible for, DOJ Civil Rights Criminal Section. It seems like all of the offices that should be investigating this are not.
Bradley, I read a New York Times op-ed that you wrote, and the title was, I've covered police abuse for 20 years. What ICE is doing is different. Explain to our viewers the content of that op-ed, how it is different now than what you've witnessed over the 20 years.
So normally after, a police officer kills someone while on the job, the police agency that employs that officer will put out a statement or have a press conference. And what they'll say is that there's going to be a thorough investigation, that, they're going to follow all the proper procedures, and that, this will be fair and just and accountable. Now, those investigations don't always turn out that way. And there have been plenty of examples where officers have been cleared who shouldn't have been. But there is at least the pretense of a fair and objective and accountable investigation. What we're seeing after these shootings, and, I wrote that op-ed before today, obviously it was published last week and after Renee Good. But what we see over and over again, what we're seeing today, is there's not even that pretense of fairness and accountability and justice. They're coming out right out of the gate, calling the people that were killed by their agents domestic terrorists, in this case, saying right off the bat that this guy had intended to massacre police officers. There's zero evidence of that. In the videos that I've seen, he is not brandishing the gun that he had and had a license to carry. He was confronted by federal agents while he was trying to sort of direct traffic and help people get by on the road. So they are immediately sort of, they're not even pretending, right? They're just coming right out and saying, these officers who we have told have complete immunity and who we have told we're unleashing and uncuffing to, do their jobs and use force. We know that they're innocent from day one, within hours, right? So what's different is that there is no pretending anymore. And I think that's pretty terrifying, and it should alarm all of us.